Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk of Big Stars. I'm Rod Chang, your host, and today with me is Chris. Hello,
Hi,
Chris.
Rod. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Once a month, this is the time I enjoy the most. I love stars. I love all the stars in the sky. And every time when I have like a discussion about a big star with you, I always not only learn a lot of things, but also enjoy enjoy the symbol in the sky, enjoy symbol in our culture, and also those are related to our mind, our body, or even the spirit. And it's so immense, and it's my, you know, most happy moment I can always enjoy.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
enjoy it really too, because as I said 1,000 times, I always so thrilled about you talking about the Chinese mythology, and I'm quite thrilled what you have to say about our star today.
Okay. It is complicated, and to be honest, there's a lot of things need to be discussed today. So, Christian, what we going to talk about today?
Our star today is the star Acubens and Cancer.
Acubens in Cancer. Okay, Acubens in Cancer. To be honest, I have a few interesting experience with, especially with uh, stars in Cancer constellation. Because of this language, we know the cancer has another meaning about the health condition. About it's kind of very it's kind of a state. It's kind of disease, and so many people when we say cancer, people is like just like always cause confusion, always cause confusion. Like I remember one of our colleagues one time she's talking about, oh, my son is in cancer. And then other people say, oh, I'm really sorry. What did they misunderstood? It sounds like her son has cancer or something. So that is like a very interesting confusion. But so usually when I say it, I will not just say cancer, I will say cancer constellation or cancer sign. And also I've been corrected, to be honest, by some astrologer. No, I think it's just only one, and I don't want to name, but it's very interesting. I don't want to say discussion, just experience. Because when I say cancer and this and that, then she say, call it a crab, not cancer. I said, why? The name of this constellation is cancer.
Yeah.
Why we call it a crab? And then, I just work a little bit. Well, okay, I think it's just because they don't like the word cancer because it's related to the disease. So they want to call it a crab. Well, to be honest, I think that is a little bit too much. I think even you don't like cancer, but the name is called cancer, and that's why because they say because the ancient astrologer call it cancer have the reason related to the disease cancer. That mean the form, the shape. We will talk about it today.
Yes.
Well, so today I will go through the first. I will go through a little bit about the position of the Acubens and the Cancer constellation and through the um, uh, uh, Vivian Robson and Isabel Epstein's view, and also Marx Maninius' view, and then we will hand to Christian talking about the mythology and also your view and Benedict's view. And then we will go to the other part, like the other culture and some interesting. I just have one photo to share because we all know, to be honest, yeah, this part of sky is a little bit boring, and there's not many things to show, but I managed to find something to force you guys to watch it. So let's start. So the Accupen and the Cancer constellation, well, we know it's in the constellation Cancer. This shape, I think, is quite interesting. If you look at it, yes, it looks like Cancer. But then when you look sky, you see nothing. You see nothing at all. Because I remember one time when I went went out to do stargazing, and the people say, "Could you? I'm a Cancer, so could you point out the where is Cancer?" I said, yeah, I can point, but you couldn't see anything because in the city, especially in the city, you see nothing there. So because most of the star in the Cancer constellation is pretty dim, this one, Acubens is Alpha Canceri, and then its magnitude plus 4.25. Again, if you are not familiar, the smaller number or even negative number bright star. So, and our human eye can only see below the magnitude 7. And that means you have to be having, first, very good eye. Second, you are in a place that has no light pollution. The 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 star has magnitude more than 4. Usually in the city or countryside, you have difficult to see it. You need to be somewhere have a low light pollution, then you can see them. So which means, even you are in countryside, you have difficult to see the star in the Cancer constellation. Then Acubens is a celestial longitude, which is important for astrologer, and it's near the ecliptic. So maybe this degree we can apply to it. Today's degree is a 13 degree Leo, 57. 20 years ago in year 2000, I know most astrologers still use year 2000 catalog. So I have to write it down. It's a 13 degree Leo 39. Now it's nearly 14 degree. Okay, in couple years time, you will move to 14 degree Leo. But if you were born around the 1980s, then this star is at 13 degree Leo 22. Let's look at a little bit more information about this. So I think later the Christian will talk about more the detail. But we know around the Cancer, in one side you have a very bright stars around the Gemini and the Caliminus and the Procyon or Pollux and Castro. Another side you got the Leo Regulus. But really in between, this is the Cancer, and that usually is quite dim, and you really couldn't see it. You really couldn't see it in the city. And below it is the Hydra. It's a Hydra. That's why one thing I have to say, all the Greek mythology, big part of it, basically, is describe the sky. Like why Hercules tried to kill Hydra, but this unknown crab come to bite him. No, they just want you to know they are close, they are friends, they are living next to each other. Hydra is right below the constellation Cancer. Okay, well, but let's go to the more usual view. Most astrologers will try to interpret the fixed star through Vivian Robson or Epstein's view. So here we have a quick review about it. First, this is quite important because most interpretation is based on Ptolemy's. Ptolemy usually give the planet to the quality of planet to the stars. So what he say is the two stars in the eye of Cancer are the same as the influence of Mercury. Interesting, and have a moderately like Mars. So in the eye of Cancer, in the eye of Crab, is Mercury and a little bit Mars. But those in the crop of the Cancer is like a Saturn and the Mercury, which if we go back, we know the Acubens is in the crop. So that's why Ptolemy gives the meaning of Mercury and Saturn that you can develop, to be honest. Let's see how Vivian Robson talking about this. Basically, he say the sheltering of the hiding place. Interesting. I guess, just a very, very broad, very dareful guess is because this part of sky is dim, it's not bright, so it's a sheltering or hiding place, or maybe there's other mythology meaning. Maybe Christian will tell us later. But also give activity, marvelous, and poison, or making native liar and criminal. I think this interpretation, lying, liar, and the criminal, probably related to Mercury, Saturn. Yeah. Then I quite like Elizabeth Everything's interpretation because it sounds like it coming from nowhere. She gave the Alpha Canceri, well, this Acubens. Jumpy nature. Suddenly it's like, what? A jumpy nature, suddenly you're just shocking. Like, why? So in the chart, you see harmonies, and to people affected by it, especially if Acubens is conjunct with Mars, Sun, and Uranus, it will make an unsettled mentality and helplessness. Oh my God, such a pleasant. I think in one way she mentioned about jumping. Suddenly, she very quickly go to Saturn and Mercury again. This is very interesting, you know. So what I say is, if you are very unconventional or very creative, I don't want to say I'm very creative, but I don't like traditional meaning. I would think about Mercury and Saturn. I would say they probably say something with the proof, because Saturn is the proof, or try to say something with authority, Mercury and Saturn. Well, but that is just a guess if these stars really have nature of Mercury and Saturn. What I like more, I always big fan of Marcus Manilius. I like him. Although his book is so difficult to read, I'm begging for anyone, if you have this book, read it, but it's very difficult. It's ancient English. Every time when I try to read it, like in the beginning of our episode, I try to read through it. I just feel like, oh my God, it's so difficult for me. Now I try to just give you a summarize. Basically, Marcus Manilius think the people who was born under the influence of any star of Cancer constellation is related to something about many kind of gain. Also, so it's profit, making profit. They own the skill of making profit, especially on the sailing, on the commercial, and go to somewhere else, go to a foreign country to make profit, and then they are able to raise the price of agriculture, the crop, or the risk money on the sea wind. That means they do the trading overseas, and they are very good to establish commercial ties with so many unknown land. How how play how pleasant to read that page if you have any planet related to the star in the Cancer constellation. But unfortunately, only him say this. After Mark Manilius, what we heard always Mercury, Saturn, liar, 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 criminal. So I want to know, Christian, what the other astrologer interpret Akban.
Yeah, so I will just do the screen sharing.
Yes, please.
And I started it. And as Rod said, Acubens is in the southern claw of Cancer. And the whole constellation Cancer looks like an upside down Y. And it also has been called the dark sign because of it is an inconspicuous constellation of relatively faint stars. And as Rod said, even with good light conditions, Acubens, you can see it there, the red arrow is pointing to it. Acubens is barely visible to the naked eye. Around 1450 BCE, the summer solstice was in the constellation of Cancer. And as we said, both said 1,000 times now, although the stars are quite dim, it was probably thought necessary to honor a group of stars in such a prominent position. And maybe it's just a guess, maybe if the ecliptic wasn't crossing this area of the sky, the stars of Cancer probably wouldn't have been noticed at all.
Probably.
So the sun reaches the highest point in its orbit at this time. And at this point, the declination is plus 23 degrees, 26 minutes. And as you know, this corresponds to the angle by which the ecliptic is inclined with respect to the celestial equator. So the days are the longest here. And from here, the sun begins its descent again and travels further northwards. And this gives rise to the name Tropic of Cancer, which we still use today, of course. The Chaldeans associated this constellation with a crab, and probably due to the lateral movement of the sun when it was in this constellation. And for the Babylonians, the constellation Cancer was the gateway to rebirth. And this agrees with the Egyptian tradition in which Cancer embodied the sun god Khafre. And when you translate Khafre, it means the one who originated by himself. The one who originated by himself. So he was a divine personification of the scarab beetle. And the scarab beetle was the symbol of fertility, life, and rebirth. The ancient Egyptians believed that the scarab beetle was only male, and they thought it reproduced by depositing its sperm in the ball of dung. And this supposed parthenogenesis of the scarab beetle resembles Khafre, who created himself from nothing every day. You know, the sun going down and the next day. And presumably, this is the source of the Platonist and Orphic tradition in which the constellation Cancer was the gateway of humanity. So the place where souls incarnate into matter. In the treatise on the cave of the nymph in the Odyssey, the Neoplatonist Porphyry brought something similar. He said a soul descending from the spheres of the fixed stars to incarnate on Earth must pass through the gate of Cancer. And after completing its life, it returns to the celestial sphere through the gate of Capricorn, the winter solstice. As you know, a crab lives on the seashore. It is at home both on land and in the sea, and it's a symbol of the transition line between this world and the next one. And due to precession, the summer point changed to the constellation Gemini in 15 BCE. So the dim Cancer no longer proclaimed summer solstice. And as Bernadette Brady noted, the importance of Cancer and its mythology faded at that time. From the once significant portal of souls, the giver of all life, it mutated to the crab in Greek mythology that pinched Heracles' toe on behalf of Hera when he fought the Hydra, as Rod said before. So Heracles crushed the crab, and in gratitude, Hera, his intimate enemy, moved Cancer among the stars of the zodiac. However, since it had not carried out its task 100%, it is also only a small, dim constellation. This is a Greek view. Since Acubens is not very bright, probably little attention was paid to it in astrology, just a guess. Bernadette Brady associates it with a life-giving, fertile, life-affirming energy, the starting point of life itself. And according to Bernadette, Acubens symbolizes respect for and love of life and of all living creatures. So Acubens wants to understand the richness of life. Acubens is also connected to the sacredness of cycles themselves, so living and dying, death and resurrection. And this can express itself as a concern for the ecological balance of nature or with the medical, physiological rhythms of the body. Acubens has an interest in what happens to us after we die. And someone with a lot of Acubens parents may be involved in bringing in new life or in the process of dying.
Mm.
It can breathe in new life into a situation or an object or an idea that was apparently already dead. There is a shadow side, it's always a shadow side. Acubens' ideas are very lofty, and making it difficult for others or for Acubens himself to fulfill them. So this could be a problem. And this was my part. I do stop screen sharing. And now, as I said, I lean back and I'm thrilled about your part.
Okay. Interesting. The first, today I'm not I'm not going to rush into another culture. Or before I rush into the Chinese view, I want to talk about a little bit about the another part. It's not argument, but in the Cancer constellation in astronomy, it take important. I think it's important part of the sky, which I want now. I suddenly wonder why I'm obsessed with it, because this could be the first, to be honest, the first nebula or cluster I ever know the story and I ever learned the name through the Japanese comic Zodiac Fighter. Senseiya. I think most of us know that story, and some of it influence people to understand astrology. In that story, there is the fighter related to cancer, and he is like he opened his power is open the gate of life and death, and then he represent because the story explained he represented the cluster beehive cluster. Okay, the beehive cluster is right in the center of the Cancer constellation, and if I if I don't make mistake, I think this area, especially beehive cluster, is also right on the ecliptic, which means the sun and the planet will go through this area, will may oculate, will block its light, and which this you call it a conjunction. This is the real things we call conjunction, all right? This is on the degree and the declination are totally exactly in the same position. And which I'm so interested that I couldn't resist to mention it. So I did just keep double check because I like it. Not many people talking about the cluster or nebula, so become my obsessed to do the studies. Well, the Beehive cluster you heard about it many times, and they call it the prospect or Messier 44 cluster, which is very interesting in such a dim area, and there is a tiny cluster. And also, I think it was recorded by Ptolemy. I think I remember Ptolemy recorded either 7 or 9 nebula in his catalog, but only few are correct. I think this is one of them, which means even without telescope, he can see it. But I think it's true because ancient Chinese can see it too, because give a very, very deep description about this cluster. So the Beehive cluster is the position, the magnitude is the +3. So it's a little bit brighter than the Acubens, and its position is around 7° Leo around this area. I don't know why it, why it have a impact on me. I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't have any planet here. But I just feel fascinating about it, and especially the name. The Hipparchus give the name of the little cloud, Nephilium. And then the Ptolemy code it described it as a nebulous mass in the breast of Cancer. Well, some astrologers call it a Meleph. Well, because it's from the Bayer catalog, write it as a Meleph. But some other astrologers call it like Little Miss. Most common name call prospect, but which means it's Latin. It's Latin. It means enclosure, pen, folder, and dwelling or crib, or it's like a mange. I think this is maybe based on the Christian mythology about the birth of Jesus was born in the stable, in the mange, right? So I think it's related to that. Some astrology use this meaning, but I think all the Cancer we keep giving, like you say, since Egyptian and Babylonian, give the meaning of a life circle, life death circle. Which I'm quite interestingly, I because this guy I just recently read his news. Is a owner of a fashion brand or the outdoor clothing, a brand called Patagonia. I think many people know about this brand and their way, their idea of running their business is not to sell more new clothes to you. Rather than sell more new clothes to you, they try to encourage you to maintain your clothes, even try to, how to fix your clothes or try to sell your old clothes back, then they can reuse it. So the creator of this brand is called Yvon Chouinard. And I think he is the Canadian French. And interesting, just before we recorded this session, I read news, that's why I drew my attention. He announced he gave ownership of this company, of Patagonia, give to the trust, and all the profit will using on the fighting for climate change. The love of Earth, not only on the way he run the business. In he is 43 now. He is 43 now. Then he give the whole company away. Use this to fighting climate change. I love it. And then so I run his a parent and thingy because I don't have an exact birth time. I have a birthday and birthplace. So I think I can run the parent. And I find out quite interesting that his Venus is parent with the Beehive Cluster, a prospect.
Interesting.
Yeah. So why I'm obsessed? As we already see the photo of the Beehive Cluster before. There's some cloud there, some little cluster there. I can show you here. But interesting because the Chinese view and Chinese name of this area are so different from the Western mythology. So we call it because a big part of Cancer constellation in the Chinese way to read the sky, we call it ghost mansion, called 鬼宿. 鬼宿 is ghost mention of a ghost. So which, but interesting, Acubens is not here. Acubens, because it's a little bit south, it belongs to next mention called Liu Shu, mention of a willow. So I will explain the both place. Because big part of a Cancer constellation is in Gui Shu, mention of ghost, which ghost is mean death. But the original meaning, to be honest, the original meaning is for worship ancestors. And then they think because of a cluster of the square, the 4 star around the Beehive Cluster, look like this is our eye. So they call it eye of sky. This is the early ancient view. They call it eye of sky. When it is eye of sky, it gives us the observation, investigation, buying, watching you. So this Beehive Cluster or any star around the Cancer area, it have a power of energy of a spying, of a watching you. But as its name is unauspicious, it's called ghost. Lately, most interpretation go to downside, go to dark side, rather than when planet go through the 鬼数, go through the mention of ghosts, it will have like a lot of people dying, or most important is the royal court have some people die, or a minister has been killed, or a national funeral, like what happened in UK a couple of weeks ago. And that means the important deaths happen in the society. And that's the most common interpretation when planets go through the 鬼数. Interesting, the next one, full of life, especially like an Acubens. So 柳树 means willow, but what is willow? If you look here, so this is the head of Hydra. Here's Cancer, and this, have you seen this one? Is the head of Hydra, and that thing coming down. They say it's like a willow. It's very poetic. They call it a willow, but it's a part of the birds. It's part of a bird, seven mention of the birds. And the first one is Liu. Liu is bird's beak, a bird's beak. So what does bird's beak use for? Bird's beak is for food, for eating, for collecting food. So it's related to plants, willow, or food, or kitchen, harvester, or farming. If any planet, I don't think planet go in this area very soon, very often, but it's about farming or the food or harvest. At least another thing needed to clarify. If you will see the Chinese people just call Beehive Cluster pile of corn. If you are into the big star, you usually will think about this name related to algal, and which is I don't know how to say. It's a mistake. It's a misunderstanding. To be honest, let me talk about. There is two pile of corn in the sky in the Chinese astronomy. This one in the center of Cancer constellation, the Beehive Cluster, his name is pile of corn, 鸡尸, which means a lot of dead people there. That's because in another view of this constellation, we call it carriage of ghosts. So you see the four dim star here. They are like a carriage, like a car, or like a chariot, and inside of it is the dead body. Another name of the pile of corn is not algal. I have to say it 10,000 times if I have to. The algal, his name is 大灵武, the fifth star of Great Tomb. Not 鸡石. 鸡石 is another star next to algal, not on the algal. I think it just maybe Alan, when he do the research, and he find the algal, horrible star with pile of gold. Yes, there's a share the same meaning. Let's use it. Just a little bit too exciting, and then make a little bit mistake or something, but it's not. So why I like this? Okay, this this when Chinese people see the star in the Cancer constellation, it's a lot of meaning about death, and it's important, like you mentioned about the life and death circle, which is pretty interesting. So different culture and also different meaning, but we are kind of share similar things, life and death culture in this. And here is the worship to the ancestors, because that is the meaning of we reflect about life and death in our life, which is so beautiful.
Yes. Oh, thank you. This is awesome. And thank you for the clarification with our goal. You can't say that often enough because you read it everywhere.
To be honest, yes. And some people still try to insist it's pile of corn. And I would say there's two, one in Cancer, and another one is in Perseus, but not in Argo. It's next to it. It's not right in it. So it is very interesting. I think sometimes we need to clarify it because, not just because ancient people say this and we just keep using it without examine it, which is quite important, to be honest. Well, thanks, Chris, I think it's so always enjoy to listen you talk about the mythology and bring the meaning, different meaning of a fixed star, and I think our audience the same.
See, that's just the same theme, but look from different perspectives onto it.
Yes, indeed,
The
and
same
really,
same theme in different disguise.
yes, indeed, that is so interesting. Thank you, Christian, and thanks everyone for watching our Let's Talk About Fixed Star. Well, this is the end of the month, so the next week we will have our AOA UK faculty team. Marks and Monday, we will talk about the donation of this month, and also me and Christian will come back end of the month. In the last Friday of that month, we'll talk about the fixed star. So stay in tune. Bye bye.
Bye bye.